Hey family, what's up? It's Mahalia here, your host for your very special moments with Mahalia. Family, we are continuing our May series for Mental Health Awareness Month titled Help, I'm Battling. And I'm excited because I have another great guest that's here for a little bit more of an extension to our previous conversation that we have that's on the Moments with Mahalia podcast. And that is the full extended version for this particular conversation, and that is Help, I'm Battling, supporting someone with a mental health challenge. And oftentimes we look at the individual that is going through, but just like how it takes an army to win a battle, to win a war, it also takes a strong support system for someone who is battling in this invisible space to be able to progress through their mental health journey. Now, I remember as a child, I was reminded and taught that it takes a community, it takes a tribe to raise a child. And same thing when an individual is experiencing a mental health challenge, they do have support systems. They have caretakers, supporters, and advocates, and the list can go on. And the guest that I have is Casey, who is a licensed clinical social worker. Casey was able to talk to us a little bit about understanding the mindset of a supporter and resources available, and the importance to understand that the caretaker and supporter needs to also make sure that they are holistically healthy. Now, Casey, let's talk a little bit deeper about this, because we know that as a supporter and someone who's compassionate and wants to help, who wants to be that problem solver, it's easy to begin to step in and try to fix the loved one, fix the individual that is experiencing a mental health challenge. But can you help us understand about the importance of having a balance between being the cheerleader, being the right hand, but also being the person to just say, hey, I'm going to hold the door or give you the instructions on how to get the door open so that you can make sure that you are exercising and taking advantage and gathering the understanding of the resources that are available.
Absolutely. And that's really the role of the caretaker, is helping to get that person to the resources they feel most comfortable using. They can't do the work for them though. And we call it a mental health challenge because that's what it is. We usually don't just wake up feeling depressed or anxious. Usually there's something that attributes to that. If it's a life change that happened, or something drastic happened in our life, or maybe a trauma, or maybe there's a chemical imbalance. And just like the situation that caused us to be anxious or depressed or have PTSD, it doesn't just go away overnight. I'm not just going to wake up and all of a sudden not be depressed. I've got to do some work with that. And our caretakers, unfortunately, can't do it for us. They can support us, they can listen to us, they can be our advocate, they can be the shoulder we cry on. But at the end of the day, it's up to the person to do the work, to make sure they're eating healthy, to make sure they are doing their deep breathing, putting their self-care plan into action, and whatever that looks like to help decrease the anxiety, decrease the depression, making sure they're taking their medication. Those are all things that the individual has to be responsible for. However, the caretaker is going to want to do the work for them. And so that's where my challenge, my caretakers, is to be that support, be that cheerleader, but also understand that at the end of the day, you can't do it for them. And what tends to happen is we forget we need to meet the other person where they are at. We see so much potential in our loved ones, and we want them to feel better. We don't want them to be sad. We don't want them to be anxious. We don't want them having nightmares. We don't want them to be going through whatever challenge they're going through. But that's where we need to have an understanding of, where is this person? Where are they at right now in their journey? Because I can't want it more for them, because that can lead to resentment and frustration. So making sure you're checking in with yourself of, am I working harder than the person going through the challenge? And if I am, maybe I need to take a few steps back and meet them where they're at in their journey.
Wow. Making sure that you are not working harder than the person that should also be working and fighting for their mental stability, for their homeostasis. Well, with that understanding, Casey, then how critical is it for the support system to have a solid foundation, be rooted in something? I know we've talked about before how faith can play a role in grounding the caretakers and the supporters, and resources as well of the support groups, having access to those support systems as creating the solid foundation for the caretaker. How important is it for anyone who is being an advocate, a caretaker, or a supporter of someone who's experiencing a challenge, mental health challenge, to have that solid foundation to keep them stable?
I mean, it's definitely a necessity. It's, most folks in my career field, we too go to folks, every day we're walking into work and our clients are coming in and being very vulnerable and open and sharing details in their stories that we are there with them going through it. And if we don't have our support, and if I'm going into work 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, working with clients and being at their most vulnerable and also going through my stuff, right? So therapists, we aren't immune to any of this. We also have stressors in life. It can break you. And so making sure you know what that foundation is for you. So for some folks, that's talking to a professional. For some folks, that's their faith. For some folks, that's another family member who maybe is a little bit further away than this immediate relationship that you're working with. You just need to make sure that you are finding folks that are providing the support and not adding fuel to any fire. So not adding the negativity of, well, why are you supporting that person? Why are you putting up with that? Why are you really, you need to find yourself in a place where you are getting the support that you need and what that looks like. One of the hardest things though to do as a caretaker is to establish boundaries, because sometimes we don't want to do that because it makes us feel very uncomfortable. But part of your foundation needs to be boundaries of what you're willing to take and what you're not willing to take. So if I am working with somebody who has a mental health challenge and they are constantly yelling at me and calling me names, and it's having an impact on me, it's making me feel sad, it's making me feel worthless, it's just really exhausting me. At that point, I need to realize, okay, there needs to be a boundary. I will be here to support you and I will love you through this, but I can't handle the name calling. That needs to stop. And that's okay to say that and not feel bad about it and not feel like you are dismissing this person, because they need to know that their behavior is unacceptable. A mental health challenge is not a free ticket to unacceptable behavior, especially towards those that are trying to help them the most. Because some folks, as a defense mechanism, when they're going through challenges, tend to push people away. And even though they know that's not what they need or want, that's what feels right to them at the time. And so we need to nip that behavior in the bud, because at some point they might push that support system away because there's only so much you can handle.
Wow. Have there been instances where you have worked with clients and you could see the writing on the wall that the individual who is being clinically diagnosed has now pushed their loved one or their support system completely away, which creates more tension and actually can be a little bit more of a hindrance to the growth that needs to take place? Have you seen that? And is that more common than what we may realize?
Yeah, so my specialty that I do is domestic violence and child abuse. So in my world, I see it a lot. At times, the mental health challenges that families are going through can lead to domestic violence or child abuse. And with that, it can be emotional abuse or physical abuse. Somebody gets so angry, they pick up the lamp and throw it. If children witness domestic violence, it is actually emotional abuse on a child. And so that automatically becomes a child abuse case, even though they weren't harmed or they weren't yelled at or they weren't called names. When they witness domestic violence in the home, that will turn into a child abuse case, because it does have impact on our kids, and especially with their growing and developing brains that's going on. So and what they are seeing is the younger the child, the more of the impact on the brain. So as young as 6 months. So even our babies, when we think that they can't see things or hear things, it is having an impact of the rewiring of their brain, and it will play out in childhood of outbursts and tantrums and hitting and biting. So keep that in mind, that if we're at a place where we are constantly fighting, we are pushing each other away, we are name calling, we are pushing triggers. The biggest thing I see when it comes to specifically my close relationships, so really close immediate family or my spouses, is they know how to get the other person riled up in a matter of seconds. So if you think of your sibling, if you think of your significant other, you can, within 10 seconds, you probably know exactly what you need to say or do to get that person riled up. And when we're in a state of high emotion, we do that because if I'm mad, I want that other person to be just as mad as I am. And that's a natural response. When it comes to folks that we don't know well, so the clients I work with, they don't necessarily know my triggers. So they can try and push my buttons, but if they don't know me well, they don't know what specific words they need to say, and our relationship isn't so close, so there's not a lot of weight in it. So now if my spouse tells me something though, so if my spouse is saying something derogatory to me, it's gonna hurt me more than what a stranger tells me. So keeping that in mind, that as you're going through some of these challenges, doing your best, again, this is where the boundaries come in at, of being respectful of each other, so it doesn't turn into something that the next day we wake up and regret that we said, or the behavior that we did. The police were called or the kids witnessed it. Just being very cognizant of some of that. And that's where, if we have a plan, maybe things start getting heated. My spouse tells me, hey, you need to go take a nap, or you need to go for a walk, or you need to enact your plan and you need to do it now so we can kind of calm down some of the chaos. That's what I want to challenge folks to do before it turns into something that we wake up tomorrow morning and have major consequences for.
Now, are these plans designed for the individual who is experiencing the challenge, or can the supporter, caretaker have a plan and then the family unit as a whole have a plan?
Everybody should have a plan, even if they don't have a family member they're taking care of. Everybody. I really think everybody, because we all go through stress. We all go through stress. And we should be practicing these plans. So, for example, deep breathing. Everyone talks about deep breathing in my world. We love it. It is like a little magic thing, and you can do it everywhere. And there are tons of apps for it. I definitely encourage folks to deep breathe. Here's the thing though, if I'm with you in session and part of your plan is deep breathing, and we never practice it, and you never practice it, and then you get into a situation where you're stressed out and you're kind of like, oh yeah, I remember Casey telling me about this deep breathing thing. Let me try. And you're not doing it right, you're just going to send yourself into hyperventilating, and it's not going to help you. So what I tell my folks is, each night before you go to bed, do 3 to 5 minutes of deep breathing, and you're going to sleep better. Even if you're not stressed out, just deep breathe. Or 3 times a day, practice deep breathing, or get your app. I try to do mine with my toddler. because she's out of control right now as a 3-year-old and has all kinds of emotions that she doesn't understand. So we try to hold her and we try to just take a deep breath, just take a deep breath. And so really kind of depending on what your family looks like and what your needs are. Some people hate deep breathing. They're like, that is stupid. And so, okay, that's not for them. But maybe trying some imagery control and picturing yourself like at the beach and finding what works for you. But yes, everybody should have a care plan and we should know each other's. So my husband knows when I am having a frustrating day, he's, you know what, you need to go take a nap. And I'll try and fight him on it. I'll be like, no, I don't. I have so much stuff I got to do. I don't have time for a nap. He's like, you will feel so much better. Please go take a nap. And so, and I need to realize at that point, like, okay, I need to go take a nap because he is right. I'm getting a little out of control. So he knows mine. I know his. Actually, our plans are hanging up in our kitchen so we can kind of remind each other of what those are. And I can remind myself of, oh yeah, he needs to go for a 30-minute jog when he gets home from work. And I agreed to that. So it's my job to hold up my end of the deal and vice versa. So I definitely challenge folks to do that individually, to do that as a family, and practice, practice, practice.
Ooh, practice, practice, practice. It's almost like preparing for the marathon. You are constantly in preparation for whatever could come next. Same kind of concept, family, with this. Casey, okay, Mental Health Awareness Month. You're not alone is the mantra that NAMI is pushing with this month's focus for mental health awareness. It's easy. It truly is easy for a supporter or a caretaker to think that they are by themselves, especially when their friends or other loved ones may not really understand the full magnitude of what's required. Support someone with a disability or mental health challenge. If you had a chance to speak to someone who classifies themselves as a caretaker or supporter and they are feeling isolated and alone, what would you say to them right now with that understanding of you're not alone also applies to them?
Absolutely. And I hope when folks hear this, they at least just marinate on it a little bit. But realizing when to get the support that you need. So many families want to keep it within the family. Don't let anybody know we're going through this. Let's just figure this out on our own, and realizing when it's too much for the family to try and figure out on their own, and that it's okay to reach out. There are a lot of organizations that either your insurance will take or for free. And I will say one positive that has come out of COVID, they're hard to find, but one of the positives in our world that came out of COVID is virtual appointments. Almost everything is virtual. And so you don't even have to go into an office. You can just figure out what works best for you. A lot of them are 24/7. So you can just Google whatever your specific challenge is, and there a lot of information will pop up of different organizations that are willing to help. But in the moment when you are in your storm, it does feel like you are so alone. But if you stay in the middle of that storm and you don't look for the support, you can't get out of that loneliness. And you're not. That's the biggest thing is you're not alone. When you start listening to other folks' challenges, or if you are at a place where you feel comfortable talking about your challenge, maybe even a very general way, like, I am just exhausted. My family is going through some stuff right now, and it's just been really hard to keep my head above water. It's amazing how many people will understand exactly what's going on because they have been there too. And it's amazing when you start opening up some of your doors and letting down some of your guard, the stories you will hear, not only that you're not alone, but how these other families and caretakers have overcome some of these challenges. And that is the magical part when you start letting a few folks in, is like, wow, okay, they did it, they survived it, and they are better for it.
Absolutely. Casey, thank you so much for taking time. It has been a pleasure to have you join me for this even more of an extended conversation. Family, if you missed out on the full in-depth portion of our conversation, you can go to the Moments with Mahalia podcast on Apple Podcast, Spotify, as well as momentswithmahalia.com to catch up. We are in this series called Help I'm Battling, and it is focused for Mental Health Awareness Month. We want to raise awareness about the different challenges that people face in this invisible domain, as well as gain information and provide you with resources that are available to you to help you fight for your purpose, fight in this invisible space, as well as to arm you with the tools necessary if you are supporting someone. And so, Casey, again, thank you. Family, you aren't alone. You aren't alone. And if you feel isolated, if you feel like you're by yourself, if you feel like, oh, woe, it's me, it's only happening to me, reach out. Be courageous enough this month. And for the rest of your journey, be courageous enough to reach out. Check in with yourself. Take advantage of the resources that are available to help you be the best version of yourself. Okay? And if no one else tells you this week, I want to log off on a high note and let you know that I love you. I want you to know that. I want you to feel that warmth, feel that love. And you can't do anything about it because I genuinely love you. Be brave this week, family. Be optimistic, be selfless, and most importantly, strong, okay? That's what makes you a boss. We'll talk soon. Thank you so much.